He applied for the job as a forklift operator to a leading firm based in Dublin. And also a Norwegian applied, and their qualifications were pretty equal. So the management decided to test them out and took them to a quiet room, and they were given a whole series of questions. At the end of it all, both got 19 out of 20. And the manager called Murphy in and said, Murphy said, "Thank you for presenting yourself, but we're giving the job to the Norwegian." And Murphy said, "Giving the job to the Norwegian?" He said, "We're in Ireland and I'm Irish. I should have got the job." And so the management said, "Look, the problem is the final decision, we had to look at the incorrect answers, and we had to analyse those and base our decision on that." And Murphy said, "Incorrect answers? That's not a fair test." "Well, I'm sorry, that's what we're doing," said the manager. So we've based it on the fact that question number 7, he said, the Norwegian said, "I do not know." And you wrote, "Neither do I." So now we're back to the Israelites in the desert, and they're whinging and moaning and say, "We want some decent food," and God sends them the manna, which is like frost. I've heard people talking today, walking on the frost where they live. It's crunches. So they took the manna up and they ate it, and gave them enough energy and enough strength to carry their journey, to continue their journey in the desert. And that's why manna, they called it manna. They didn't know what it was. So manna has a real significance for us, because in the different parts of the world where the Vincent de Paul operates, they have houses they call houses of manna. And that's where they allow women who've suffered violence to shelter with their children. And it's a very good name for them, because manna means help and strength and support. So what happens is that those women and their children feel secure, they're looked after with love, they're comforted, and they're strengthened then to, when their lives can come together, to move out in life and continue their journey. So when we talk of manna, we think of the manna that you and I receive by being here this morning, that it's just letting the presence of Christ. You're all very busy and you all have a lot of things on your minds, but you can gather here with one another and hear the manna, which is the Word of God, but above all it's the Christ coming to you in the Eucharist. And we call it the bread of life. And that's a wonderful gift we have as members of the church, that we believe that He's present in the Eucharist. He comes to us. The Son of God, Christ made man, comes into you, and He strengthens you, and He gives you the courage for the future to continue your pilgrimage of life. And some people feel broken in spirit, broken in body, with illnesses and hurts, disappointments, and terrible things that happen in the course of one's life. And all the time, Christ is coming to give them the strength, to bind them together, to help them to continue their journey in hope. And that's what we call the Eucharist, and we know that God can appear in the beauty of the sunset or the beauty of the dawn, but above all, He's present for us. As you sit here now, Christ is with you. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm with you. But the crowning point, of course, is when we take the bread and the wine in the Eucharist, and it becomes the body and blood of Christ. And then you and I have the privilege of receiving that bread, that manna, into our hearts, into our souls. And that gives us that inner fortitude, that hope, that strength to take the next journey in your life, the week ahead. And He's there for you. And all the time you're moving forward to a life that never ends. You've got your life now, and you enjoy it, but it has a downside as well as its upside. But that's your life. And everyone's different in this church, all different stages of life. But it's the movement forward to the day when the hope we've all had, we just move from the body into the great glory of the meeting God face to face. So we're people of faith, but it's not an intellectual thing. Faith is what you feel inside. Faith is your trust that there is Christ with you, that he's here to nourish you, he loves you, he knows all your afflictions, and he knows your joys and sorrows, and he shares them with you as he did on the cross. He hung on the cross to show us that suffering is part of life, and he did that because he loved us. So what we do today is thank him for the great coming to us, but it's a very intimate union. So when you receive him and go back to your place, he's there with you. And you just say, Lord, here I am. I'm weak, I'm frightened, my body's racked with pain, my mind is all over the place. I just need you with me. And I thank you for the graces you give me.